Quite a week for the Indiana General Assembly. In the beginning, 2 bills were presented to amend Indiana's Constitution. Now only one is left standing. Plus, we're talking taxes, same-sex marriage, and immigration with one of Indiana's leading senators. It's all coming up on this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Making a bill can be complicated, especially if you want it to make it into law. The haggling, the advocating, the cutting is keeping many committees very busy. Now, what makes it to a vote and what doesn't is being decided. Today, we're talking with one of the leading senators, weighing many of the decisions that will directly affect many Hoosiers. Joining us now is State Senator Mike Delph. Senator Delph was elected in 2005, serving District 29, which is parts of Hamilton, Boone, and Marion counties. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about taxes, because you are one of the legislators that is really helping the governor, or will help the governor, try to pass this tax cut proposal. Will this work?
I think it will. Most businesses file their income tax returns at the individual rate level. And I think the governor is the leader of the state. He's the leader of my party. This is one of his top priorities. That should be respected, and his bill should be heard.
Senator, everyone wants more money in their pocket. I don't know of any Hoosier who would not say to you, yes, give me back more of my money. But there's so many unknowns coming up this year, coming up in the next couple of years, like the Affordable Health Care Act.
That's right.
We just don't know. So is this really a wise time to return large chunks of dollars to taxpayers?
Well, Chris Atkins, the budget director for Governor Pence, had compelling testimony before the House Committee on the budget, and I think he made his case, and I think we need to allow the governor to make his case over in the Senate. It's my understanding that one of the tax bills will be heard by the Senate Committee on Tax and Fiscal Policy, which I serve on, and I'm looking forward to the governor having his say and having his chance to make his case.
Yeah, the difficulty you folks have, those that have to work on the budget, is that you have to sort of work 2 years
That's right.
ahead. So so you have to work a 2-year budget. Is that a tough thing to do, considering we just don't know what's going to happen in 2014?
It is. The most important thing that we're working on as an Indiana General Assembly is passing an honestly balanced 2-year budget. Nobody ever comes to you as a legislator, regardless of political philosophy, and says, give me less money. And so everybody's coming to all of the legislators now and making their case on why their budget should not be cut and why they need more money. The budget process starts constitutionally over in the House. They're still doing their work. Once they're done and concluded, the process will start over in the Senate. And so we anxiously await their product.
So give me some behind-the-scenes information, kind of, maybe. Are you doing a lot of work behind the scenes, trying to get fellow members of your caucus saying, buy into this? Is this a tough sell, or is this something you find yourself finding that a lot of folks are saying, okay, we'll do it at some point in April?
Well, again, the governor is the leader of our state. He's the leader of the Republican Party, the leader of my party, and that should be respected. And as such, I believe that he deserves and is entitled to the ability to make his case both directly to the people and to the leadership of the legislature and to the rank and file members. And it's my hope that he gets that opportunity in the Senate.
Listen, I'm going to give you the governor's a fine fella, but what I'm asking you is...
He's a good guy.
Yeah, behind the scenes, are you having to do a lot of arm twisting to get people to at least consider the possibility? Or... That's
not really the way that the legislature works. It's more collegial. We talk about issues. We talk about the various proposals. You know, we introduce a lot of bills, a lot of proposals. The committee chairmen are selected for their leadership capabilities. They make a decision, an independent decision on which bills to hear, which bills not to hear, in concert with the rest of the leadership team. And so we need to let and allow the legislative process to work its will. But this is the top priority of Governor Pence, and we should respect that.
Another big issue that is coming down the pipeline, which was sort of delayed until next year, is the issue of the same-sex marriage amendment. Will that come back up again, or will we have to wait for the U.S. Supreme Court to offer its ruling before anything happens in the state?
Well, I think the consensus this year was, given pending decisions coming out of the United States Supreme Court, that it'd be more prudent to sit for 1 more year. It doesn't put the process back at all, or push the process back at all. the awkward scenario that we kept running through our heads is in the event that the Supreme Court rendered a negative decision and we already passed the amendment and it would already go to the voters for an up or down vote, it would create all kinds of confusion with the public. And so we felt like we ought to allow the U.S. Supreme Court to do its work and then take it up next year.
But you've been very vocal. You believe that it's worth changing or adding to our Constitution.
I've supported the marriage amendment in the past. I support the definition of marriage between one man and one woman. But, you know, societal norms sometimes change, and folks on the opposite side of the issue need to be respected, and their voice needs to be heard as well. And so I hope that we have a constructive public dialogue over the next year before this issue is revisited by the Indiana General Assembly.
Because you've heard some of the the backlash has been is an economic one, that many of the big companies say that if we pass something like this in our state, that we may get an anti-gay label. Are you concerned at all that this may become an economic development issue should we pass this?
I think that's advancing some fear mongering, if you will, Raphael. I don't support that. I don't believe that that would be the case.
But you've heard that. I'm not saying.
I have, okay. And people have made that argument. But I just.
But you don't believe it.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I try to treat every individual with respect, and I think a lot of folks do as well here in the state of Indiana.
Senator, you have also been very clear on the issue of immigration. I don't think there's anyone in your caucus that's been more clear about his stand on immigration than you. You believe in the rule of law.
I do.
And the other day you tweeted after some talk in Congress, you've been asked a few times if my views on illegal immigration have softened given today's national news. The answer is no. Do you think we will see some sort of federal policy or rule that will have some sort of pathway to citizenship, some amnesty in there? Is that where we're going?
Well, I hope that we don't repeat the mistakes of the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act. Ronald Reagan was president at the time. He went to the American people and said this would be the last amnesty this country would ever need. And you fast forward to today, and we're talking in similar language. I think it's very positive that the federal government, the Senate and the House, are talking about immigration. I think there's some reforms that need to be made in the process of immigration, but I hope that we don't go down the amnesty approach, because that just only attracts additional illegal immigration, and we'll be back here talking about the same issue in 20 years.
So then for you, last question, what do you think is a plausible policy in light of the fact that now every politician, whether he or she is Democrat or Republican, wants the Latino vote? What do you think we will see in an effort to attract a good policy and both parties can get the Latino vote?
There is a quote above the United States Supreme Court building. It says, "Equal justice under law." We should never make policy law targeted to any one ethnic group, minority, or select group of people. We should make law for everybody. We should have one rule of law. And it's offensive to me at the suggestion of anybody that says in order to get votes from a particular group, we need to advance a particular policy. That is not living up to Dr. Martin Luther King's dream that one day all men would be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And it concerns me as a policymaker, as a citizen, as a patriot, that we would, entertain this notion that we need to tailor our lawmaking and our proposals to any one group for votes. That's just the wrong way to go.
But you've seen that. I mean, whether we like it or not, whether it's not something that people are making up. You have seen that both parties have made this a political issue where they believe that if you pander to that segment of the population, then maybe they will win the White House the next time around.
I'm kind of an idealist, and I've always had the hope that law-abiding, rule of law-minded citizens across ethnic groups, across races, would stand up for the rule of law and say, you know what, we cannot tolerate the systematic breaking of the rule of law. It's not good for any American citizen, and we should rise up as Americans and fight that. Unfortunately, you do see quite a bit of political pandering on both sides. People that think that they're going to run for president one day and they don't want to go down to Florida and offend anybody, or Texas, or some of these other states. But to me, we need to get back to the foundational principle that we are one nation under law, and we should treat everybody to the same standard, the same rules. And we should not allow people that take the law into their own hands to be absolved of the consequence of that decision that they made. In the case, for example, of those that are unlawfully in the country that are students that didn't make a choice. Well, my question back is who should be responsible? And I think it ought to be the parents. That's where we ought to start, in my opinion.
Whether it's national or state issues, we can always count on Mike Delph to give us just the good facts on it all. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir. As we continue, one amendment being proposed to change the state's constitution is a protection to hunt, fish, and farm in our state. So why is this really needed? We're sitting down with the author of the proposal right after the break. Proposing a state constitutional amendment is on its way to the Indiana Senate after passing legislative committee last week. Now, the goal is simple: to guarantee the right of residents to hunt, fish, and farm. The bill passed committee with a unanimous vote. The same bill passed the General Assembly 2 years ago. So if it clears this year, it will go before voters in a statewide referendum in 2014. Joining us now is the author of the bill, Senator Brent Steele, a Republican who represents District 44. Mr. Steele began his career in the State House in 1995 in the House of Representatives. He was then elected to the State Senate in 2004. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Indianapolis This Week. Why now? Why do we need this amendment at this point in our history?
Well, it's nothing new. The concept's been around. The first state to do it was Vermont in 1777. 17 other states have already done it. And the hunting and the fishing and the farming industry is under attack in our country from various different interest groups who are well-funded and can out-litigate just about anybody when it comes to the dollar. And we think it's a part of our heritage that needs to be preserved.
Well, tell me about this threat. I have 3 uncles in Johnson County. They have the camos, they have the rifles, they have the guns. Uncle Steve, John, and Tim. They farm, they hunt, and they fish. And they were asking me, what is the real threat here? I mean, who is mounting this threat? Because as far as they're concerned in Johnson County, they're going to continue to be great outdoorsmen.
Well, they should check out the Humane Society of the United States website, which states that it's their goal to make hunting to be viewed in America the same as dogfighting. They also ought to look at their website that states that they don't want any animal protein to be consumed by humans, and they don't even like row crops to be used to feed animals. They say that's an inefficient use of plant protein if you feed it to a chicken or a hog or a cow. And they're after every industry as far as the farming industry is concerned.
But do you really think that the citizenry, that you, me, are going to allow them to do something like that? I mean, as you point out, this is part of our Indiana culture. It's part of our historic.
You would have thought it was a part of the culture in California, too. It's an agricultural state, and you can't buy an egg in California that's laid in California right now.
So you're concerned about extreme groups coming in and maybe mandating these things. I've heard that this bill, if it passes, this amendment would be considered an insurance policy to protect against any possible threats. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. And it is, the way my amendment is drawn, it's not a carte blanche. It's subject to the rules and regulations of the laws of the state of Indiana. For example, our hunting regulations will still be controlled by the Department of Natural Resources. In 2010, we passed a bill that all of our farming regulations are controlled by the Board of Animal Health, and they will still have control of that. Farmers will still have IDEM to comply with. It's not a, no holds barred. They still have to comply with the law that the legislature sits down, but the right, the fundamental right to engage in those 2 things is guaranteed, and most of the hunting in Indiana is done on farmland, private farmland.
So now, as we wait for this to get through the legislature, what can folks expect between now and 2014? Will you be mounting some sort of educational campaign? Will you be going on radio or television to talk about this issue?
Well, this won't probably be my last time, but Farm Bureau of Indiana is strongly behind this bill, and it's my understanding that they're going to be waging a multi-dollar educational campaign, both on television and with their members in direct mail.
Do you think this will be successful? I mean, because to change the Constitution is a big deal. It doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen every year.
I understand.
Do you think this will happen?
It'll be successful in the legislature. It's always passed with high margins in both the House and the Senate. I think it will be successful when it comes to the vote on the ballot. I think the Hoosiers fundamentally understand that this is a part of our heritage and will protect it. If they will educate themselves, they will see it is under threat. This is not. The Humane Society of the United States says, well, this is a wedge issue that we hunters throw out there to whip up hunters. Well, pardon me, that's not the case at all. All you have to do is read their own stated goals. And if that doesn't tell you exactly where they're headed and where we could be headed, then I can't help you. That people will they will educate themselves. They'll wise up.
Senator Brent Steele of Bedford, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This week. We appreciate it. We hope that you'll come back, and obviously we'll keep an eye on this bill.
All right, thank you
so much. When we return on Indianapolis This Week, we'll sit down with our political insiders and we'll see the hot topics emerging for the week ahead. Heard from two veteran lawmakers about their thoughts on taxes, immigration, and farming. But this week we also saw one of the biggest decisions made to delay same-sex marriage amendment. Joining us now are two political insiders. On the right, Abdul Hakim Shabazz. On the left, Kip Tu. So same-sex amendment, DOA.
Yes. Marriage is postponed for a while. They're going to put the wedding on hold. David Long, Brian Bosma both said this week that they want to bring it back next week, or not next week, but in 2014. Let the U.S. Supreme Court make a decision. No one knows what the court is going to do. And plus, once you get it on the ballot, you can't take it off. And so why put Indiana in the really embarrassing position of having to vote on something that's unconstitutional?
Looks like the grooms have left the altar with cold feet to me a little bit. But,
okay, I'll give you that one. That one works really well.
I feel like I should have brought rice or bubbles for you guys today.
I think it's about politics, and, you know, the people's opinions are changing very rapidly. You even heard Mike Delph earlier talk about how people's opinions are changing, which is quite an admission by one of the most conservative members of the Indiana General Assembly. I think that they're putting it off. They're using the Supreme Court as a reason. I think it's a pretty good reason to use, and I'm delighted that they are, and I hope that they put it off again next year.
Another possible amendment to the Constitution is this whole issue of making it a right for us to all hunt and farm and fish. Can you equate both? Often when I think of changing a constitution, it's to bring some sort of rights to someone. And while I respect and I understand what's going on, is it on the same playing field?
I think people already have a constitutional right to hunt and fish and farm, so I don't understand why it needs to be explicit.
I think what it is this is a pushback for what some folks see in the State House as sort of the extremism on the part of environmental groups to really go beyond normal safety, healthy regulations for farming, for hunting, for fishing. And I think this is just a pushback. I don't think it'll go anywhere, but this is the legislature. Sometimes people want to make a statement.
One of the big things we have to think about is that this whole issue with the Affordable Health Care Act, and Democrats on Friday talked about the Medicaid expansion programs. Will we join the other states? Will we have a program in place that will allow us to get more people to get health care?
Well, it's a really important issue, and it's one that's a little bit underreported, but Democrats made the point that the most conservative governors across the United States now are joining in the Affordable Care Act. They're expanding health care to all and doing state exchanges. Governor Pence is about the only one. He's quite an outlier. I think it has a lot to do with he's looking out at the Iowa caucuses rather than looking out what's best for Hoosier voters.
No, I think what he's looking out for is what's best for Hoosier taxpayers. And the governor hasn't said that he's not open to participate in the expansion of Medicaid and the Affordable Health Care Act. What he said was it has to be fiscally sound and it has to be responsible, and if it's modeled after the Healthy Indiana plan, he's more than willing to take a look at it. He's had some conversations with Kathleen Sibelius, the Secretary of Health
Sebelius,
my apologies, Health and Human Services, and has made that perfectly clear to HHS. I mean, the problem is what people don't understand is this is a massive expansion of government. I mean, do you really want hundreds more thousands of people
this is the argument
on the public dole?
This is the argument we already had and has been settled. The Supreme Court says it's constitutional. Here's what I mean, unfortunately, it's the same argument, and it's why we've had so many problems. What happened here is we got these people that don't now qualify for Medicaid, and they can't get insurance. So they're left in the middle. And what happens to those people? They wait until there's an emergency, they go to the emergency room, then all the rest of us pay for it. So we're paying for it one way or the other, and that's what's happened, and that's what this is going to address. It's going to say these people are going to fall under Medicaid, and we're going to have taxes paying for it, and it's going to work out much better than the system is now, where they're uninsured and they only come in when they've got bigger problems with costs.
If you think the federal government's going to do a great job with health care, just look how much crap we have to go through to get through our road situation and fully fund roads and transportation.
10 seconds. We're going to hear from the president on Tuesday. Will the speech be an hour or two?
It'll not be an hour.
It won't be a Lord of the Rings film, but it'll probably be about 45 minutes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. They are the best of the business. You can stay up to date on our political news anytime by following our insiders on our Capitol Watch blog. You can find the link on the webpage, theindychannel.com. Indianapolis This Week continues right after the break. The month of February, RTV6 is celebrating Black History Month by recognizing leaders whose talents are making an impact on our lives and history. This Sunday, the first African-American federal judge in Indiana history. She was confirmed in 2010. Now, in her own words, the Honorable Tanya Walton Pratt.
All rise. United States District Court for the Southern District of Indiana is now in session. The Honorable Tanya Walton Pratt presiding.
We want people to feel and believe and to experience a system that treats everyone the same, regardless of whether you're wealthy or poor or handicapped or whatever your situation is. When I was first elevated to this position and nominated by the President of the United States of America, it was a big deal to me, and I was overwhelmed with pride and very humble. Everything was hush-hush. It was probably the worst kept secret in downtown Indianapolis, but I wasn't able to talk about it. Of course, I told my husband and
your mom?
my mom, even though she tells things, but she didn't. We've come a long way. We have many steps left on the journey, but as we continue to knock down these firsts, I think that's something that's great. That my being the first African American judge, I do respect the historical significance of that fact, because being the first of anything allows future generations to say, because this has happened, this can happen to me also. I just grew up in a family where service was vital and important, and it was always instilled in us that when you have the abilities and the opportunities, that you should take advantage of those and become leaders. And I always tell my daughter, if at first you don't succeed, try again. If it doesn't kill you, it's going to only help you. That disappointments and rejection is a part of life, that you're going to have experiences where you don't get what you want when you want it, but to keep trying, and then anything is possible, and I sincerely believe that.
A Hoosier making history. That's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Thanks for joining us.